Coming to instrumentation R15 regular exams, April 2020, the questions from part A, what is a systematic error? Systematic errors are the instrument by the uses of instrument errors. This can be by the usage. ఇవి వాడడం వల్ల సిస్టమాటిక్ ఎర్రర్స్ వస్తుంటాయి. ఆ ఎర్రర్స్ మనం రెడ్యూస్ చేయలేం. That is misusage of instrument. Like that, these errors are: define average deviation and standard deviation. The average deviation and standard deviation, there is one formula for that. The change in value with respect to measurand, that is average duration, and standard deviation. Standard deviation means variance we have to consider. What is frequency division multiplexing? Frequency division multiplexing, frequency will be divided among all different stations. Frequency will be division, frequency will be divided. Time division means time will be divided. Suppose in broadcasting stations, frequency is allotted for different stations. That is frequency division multiplexing we are using in transmission of data. What is the difference between pulse modulation and pulse frequency modulation? Pulse modulation and frequency modulation, the same questions previously asked also. What are the applications of spectrum analyzers? To see the data, to see the waveform, to see the energy spectrum, we are using spectrum analyzers. To see the energy spectrum in any waveform. Energy spectrum in the sense you can see what is the spectrum of energy. Define sensitivity of digital meter. Sensitivity, for a small change in input, what is the output? It is the sensitivity. The sensitivity can be explained by like this. You can see change in output by change in input is known as sensitivity of digital meter. Next one is, what is the difference? What are the differences between thermocouple and thermistor? Thermocouple means two metals are joined together. Already I told you, thermocouple. Thermistor is a resistive temperature changer. This RTD, resistive temperature detector, is a thermistor. Mention the applications of capacitive transducers. Capacitive transducers we are using in gases or liquids. The volume can be measured using capacitive transducer. The humidity in gases, the humidity and volume flow, all will be measured by using capacitive transducers. Write the equivalent circuit of piezoelectric crystal. Piezoelectric crystal, how it will be? The crystal can be equivalent circuit will be resistance and one voltage source will be generated. Define pyrometer. What is the purpose of pyrometer, or define pyrometer? The purpose of pyrometer is to measure the temperature. Again, it can be measured temperature, the pyrometer. The pyrometers are provided by directly not in contact with the temperature, not in contact with the body. By radiating some light, it will measure the temperature. For example, if any person is there, what is the fever, that can be measured without touching the person. For example, in COVID situations, we are using pyrometers used to measure the temperature by radiating outwards the temperature. Temperature ni measure cheyadaniki pyrometer vaadtaru. Pyrometers are used to measure the temperature without contact with that. Temperature measurement purpose we are using. Coming to part B, what are the questions we have? From unit 1, second question is, explains various types of static characteristics. What are the static characteristics? Resolution, accuracy, precision, all comes under static characteristics with suitable examples. In unit 1 it is, what are the standard test signals we are using? That is very important. Standard test signals are used to test any equipment. Explain their importance in instrumentation with the need diagrams. Ramp impulse signals comes under step, ramp, impulse. Step, ramp, impulse. All these are test signals. Impulse signal or step signal are used to test the electrical apparatus. These signals are using in MATLAB to test the apparatus what we designed in MATLAB. Step, ramp and impulse signals or comes under test signals. Explain another one. Fourth question is, explain about analog DOS and digital DOS. Analog DOS and digital DOS with need diagrams we have to explain. Different types of data transmission systems we are using. What are the different types of data transmission systems we are using? Landline telemetry, that is data system, and frequency landline telemetry and laboratory type we are using landline telemetry and radio frequency telemetry system. Explain in detail different types. Data transmission DOS, you can see what are the types of data transmission: pneumatic transmission, mechanical transmission, like that's different methods are there. What is spectrum analyzer? Explain various types of spectrum analyzers with neat sketch. You can see the video, that is a spectrum analyzer with neat diagram working of digital frequency meter, how it works. Digital frequency, how it measures. Frequency will be converted into number of pulses. After that, pulses will be counted by using counter. It is a digital frequency meter. Coming to unit 4, transducers, and unit 5 is measurement of non-electrical quantities. It is also transducers. Unit 4 and 5 both are same, that is transducers. What is inductive transducer? Explain different types of inductive transducers with neat sketch. LVDT is one of the inductive transducer. You can explain LVDT. Inductive transducers are rotary variable differential transformer. RVDT also inductive transducer. LVDT. What is synchro? Explain the operation of different synchros with suitable examples. Synchros is already control systems. It is a synchro transmitter and receiver. One transmitter will be there and another receiver will be there. According to the movement of transmitter and receiver will move. That is synchros. List out next one, unit 5. List out various flow transducers and explain the operation with notable sketches. Magnetic flow meter, you can see electromagnetic flow meter. It is one of the flow transducer. Compare different types of temperature measuring transducers and write its applications. Again, RTD, thermocouple and strain gauge, how temperature will be measured by using RTD, and temperature will be measured by using thermocouple. How can we use thermocouple and write that humidity will be measured, or temperature, what are the applications of pyrometer? Pyrometer also one of the transducer. This is about R15 previous exam paper, instrumentation. Instrumentation subject, the previous question paper discussion in this video. As usual, part A, 2 marks questions are define fidelity, guarantee errors and relative errors. The types of errors, those are fidelity is the one of the property, that is dynamic property. Fidelity, what is meant by fidelity? Answers we will discuss later. Define periodic and non-periodic signal. If the signal is varies with respect to time, it is a periodic. Non-periodic means with respect to time, it not amplitude, magnitude will be same, not same. How many side bands of FM wave? It is the question paper previously, 2017. You can see what are the questions they asked previously. What are the drawbacks of tuned circuit analyzers? What is the principle of ramp type DVM? A negative ramp we are using. Difference between active and passive transducer. Differentiate. Active means no need of power supply. Passive transducer requires power supply, external power supply. Active transducers examples are piezoelectric transducer. Passive means LVDT, or these are passive transducers. Define gauge factor. The change in resistance delta R by R is known as change in resistance. What is piezoelectric effect? Piezoelectric effect. What is strain gauge we are using? What is strain gauge? How the strain gauges are used for pressure measurement? Strain gauge, how it can be used? Coming to next question, part B, that is explain instrumental errors, limiting errors and environmental errors. That is the part B, unit 1. Check the periodicity of cos 0.51 pi n. Coming to the answers related to questions, the first question, part A, what is fidelity? The fidelity indicates how faithfully the system reproduces the changes. How faithfully the system reproduces the changes in the input. That is fidelity. It is the ability of instrument to produce a wave shape in identical to wave shape of input with respect to time. What are guarantee errors? The manufacturer specifies the accuracy of the instrument. Those errors are guarantee errors. The components like resistor, inductor and capacitor are guaranteed within certain percentage of rated value. Guarantee errors, those are. Relative limiting error. It is the ratio of error to specified magnitude of the quantity. It is the ratio of error to specified magnitude of the quantity. That is called relative limiting error. What is periodic and non-periodic signals? Periodic signal means, I already told you, a signal is said to be periodic if it repeats at regular intervals. It is a periodic signal. If the signal is a triangular or sine wave, is a periodic signal. Non-periodic means do not repeat regular intervals. That is impulse signal. All comes under impulse means peak, sudden rise of peak. It is impulse signal. Coming to how many sides of does a FM have? Compare with amplitude modulation. Modulation techniques, if you write, you can get 2 marks. What are the advantages of angle modulation, and also list advantages. The advantages of angle modulation and list its advantages. Advantages of angle modulation are: angle modulation is digital modulation technique. Advantages: it covering area of AM receiver is wider than FM. Angle modulation, it is more than frequency modulation. Coverage area will be, AM is long distance propagation because lambda. Some disadvantages are there. Those are signal of AM is not stronger than FM. Only one side of AM's transmission signal, information signal, only one side which have. Next, coming to what are the drawbacks of tuned circuit analyzers. What is the principle of DVM? Use a non-linear ramp. It uses DVM uses linear lamp. Differentiate between active and passive transducers. Self-generating type transducers are active, whereas do not generate any electrical signal by themselves is known as passive transducers. They require external source. This does not require external source for that. Next one is gauge factor. What is change in resistance per unit change of length? That is gauge factor. Strain gauge ela panchestadi? Strain gauge factor is change in resistance. The small change in resistance delta R by R, delta L by L, it is known as gauge factor. Define piezoelectric effect. Piezoelectric effect is piezoelectric transducer, piezoelectric materials. Some crystals have piezoelectric effect. Piezoelectric effect is the ability of certain materials to generate an electric change. Electric charge it produces. A piezoelectric crystal produces whenever force applied on that. Mechanical stresses, if you apply, then it produces piezoelectric effect. However, strain gauges are for pressure measurement. How the strain gauge used? Strain gauge used for pressure measurement or strain measurement it is. Strain gauges are used extensively for analyzing the dynamic strains, automobiles, etc. Bridges, weighing bridges also we are using strain gauges. Strain gauge is a resistive transducer which are used for measurement of press. Whenever strain is applied, pressure is applied, its resistance will be changes. That is unit 4 and unit 4 transducers. This we can study. Coming to part B, explain instrumental errors. Instrumental errors are shortcomings in the instrument. These are the errors can be mainly due to 3 reasons. One is shortcomings inbuilt. Whenever the equipment is manufactured, the instrument is manufactured, these errors will be appear. Misuse of effect and loading effects. These are the mainly 3 reasons instrumental errors. Limiting error means limiting error defined as the ratio of error to the specified magnitude of quantity. Specified magnitude of quantity, that is a limiting error or relative error. It is absolute error divided by limiting quantity AS gives limiting error. Similarly, check for periodicity. It is a problematic one. What short notes on pulse modulation diagram and explanation you have to explain. The pulse modulation also I explained one video, you can see in the description. Pulse modulation may be used for transmission of both digital and analog data. Simply. And another one is problem. The marks are divided according to diagram and explanation. Pulse modulation, like that it will be divided. You can see compare FM and PM, pulse modulation, phase modulation and frequency modulation. What is the function of frequency modulation? Frequency of carrier wave will be varied. Here phase of the carrier wave will be varied in phase modulation. These are the comparisons. Write the sketch, explain the direct method of FM generation and diagram you have to explain. With the need sketch, explain PCM telemetry system. With need sketch, explain PCM, pulse code modulation system. Diagram, explanation of pulse code modulation, digital modulation technique. They answer the questions. With the need block diagram, explain the operation of heterodyne wave analyzer. In wave analyzers, the diagram of wave analyzer will be like this. Frequency range and frequency selective and heterodyne, two types of wave analyzers. Wave analyzers are used to analyze the waveform. Whatever be the waveform we given, it will be connected to input attenuator, after that amplifier, after that IF amplifier, second filter. The diagram will be. Coming to next question, discuss the working principle of successive approximation type DVM. The diagram, for diagram and explanation you have marks. Successive approximation means successively approximate they will value. I told you what are the digital meters also, digital instruments, the comparator, DAC, VA input, like this. Here a problem is asked for that. Explain the working of digital multimeter. Already I told you how the digital multimeter works. Explain the operation of LVDT with neat diagram. Operation of LVDT. It is a linear variable differential transducer. Variable resistance, variable inductance, like that. Next is thermocouple, how it works. Between two different metals are joined together, then it becomes a thermocouple. It measures the temperature. Measuring junction, connection head, like that it has. What are the application of thermistor? Temperature measurement, temperature transducer it is. Next one, discuss the optical fiber displacement sensors. It is not in syllabus. Optical fiber displacement sensor circuit diagram. Next, tacho generator. Tachometer, how it works. DC tacho generator, AC tacho generator, how it works. This is about some recalling the matters related to instrumentation.